Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are doing a twofer. BM Boldt's back, and we're going to look at two more Frank Zappa albums tonight. We're doing Waka Jawaka and The Grand Wazoo, so let's get started.
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Holy crap, and we're live, and I've got BM Boldt right as my co-pilot. Mr. Boldt, nice to see you. How are you?
Good to be here.
It is.
I'm ready for this one. Been waiting for it.
I was awfully hard on those records by our good friends Flo and Eddie, but I am sure glad they're gone because these two records we're going to talk about tonight, I think are absolutely, I think one's better than the other, and the one I think is absolutely brilliant. I am glad they're gone. In a way, it's a blessing Frank got pushed off the stage. I hate to say that, but what he did in between after that, I think is great. So, but we're going to dive down these two records. We're going to look at both of these records are from 1972. We're going to look at Waka Jawaka, and we're going to look at The Grand Wazoo. Waka Jawaka is like Hot Rats Part 2, and then Grand Wazoo's a Mother's album. Though I think that's a loose term.
It's really Hot Rats Part 3. If the other one's Part 2, you know. We'll get into that.
I wonder why they called the other one a Mother's record. Was it a contractual thing?
I was going to ask you that same question. This is Zappa, and then this is the Mothers. And there's nothing on there that says the Mothers.
No.
It just says the Grand Wazoo. So it made no sense to me why they did that.
Well, holy crap. Look, everybody's already in the chat already. DC, why are there so many streams? I got to wake up Loki. I don't know if even DC's even here yet. And Digon wants me to swear more. I'll see what I can do. Nathan, nice to see you. Of course, Ernesto's here. Who else is here? Oh, shit. Let me keep scrolling.
Gary Joyce, Anthony Ferraro.
I know. Look at that. We got Mike Ladano's here. We got Anthony Ferraro. Holy crap. We've actually got like a celebrity in here.
Gary Wilkerson.
Gary Joyce is here. Stephen David. God, this is great. Thanks everybody for showing up. I hope you want to talk some Zappa because I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of excited about this one because I actually like these. I mean, okay, since, we lost the original Mothers, I was all down for that stuff. Then that period with Flo and Eddie just let me down so much. Young Logan's here. I wonder why is Logan here? He should be watching the Warehouse. Kind of weird. Waka Wazoo, yes. Gary Wilkerson. Gary Wilkerson Jr.'s here. Nice to see you, Gary. George is here. Happy Monday, everyone. My team, the Oilers, made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Nice. Igon's not here. I didn't think you were here. As long as you ain't pissing in the stream, it's all cool. All right. Michael, nice to see you. Steven, God. Yeah, that Flo and Eddie period. Wait a minute. Put that back up there. I'm not a big fan. God, I dislike this record. That's because you're out of your mind.
Yeah, well, I gave him a lot higher score than you did. I can say that.
All right, let's start off. Let's get this on the road. We're going to talk about 1972's Waka Jawaka, and I'm going to Michael Nolan. Nice to see you. Thanks for another Manic Monday here in the Warehouse. So, BM Boldt, why don't you get us going on this topic, and we will wrap some Zappa.
Yeah, like you had said, Frank got pushed off the stage during that show in was it the Rainbow, I think, in London, and then they broke up the band, and Frank was in a wheelchair for quite a while, so he just sat down and started composing. I guess we'll call it some jazz rock. A lot of charts for all the horns that they have on these albums. Was recorded April 17th to the 21st and May 5th to 72. And Cal Schenkel did the cover art.
I love it.
It's all right, I think. I like the next one better. But
I don't know. I think it's cool.
From what I've read, it's best to have the original vinyl or the 2012 CD because the others have a lot of reverb. I have the original Ryko here. I don't know what you got.
I've got the 2012 CD,
There you go.
and for Grand Wazoo, I've got the Ryko.
Yep. Actually, there was and someone had mentioned there's a 50th anniversary called Waka Wazoo, which is 5 discs. Maybe someday we'll get to those. We're not covering.
Byron will be dead by then.
Yeah, I'm not covering is it posthumous? Is that the correct word? I think that's posthumous.
Posthumous, yeah.
Yeah. So, I would describe this stuff as jazz fusion that's real heavy on the horns. Lots of horns on these albums.
I love it.
Frank composed all this while he was sitting in the wheelchair. They toured this with a big band for a short tour, and then they had a smaller band after that, probably just to save some money. There's a lot of posthumous releases from this period. That was one issue is back in the day, there weren't any live, Frank did a lot of live stuff. There was nothing live of this band until after Frank died. And there's the Imaginary Diseases CD, Wazoo, Little Dots. Those are all live. Then there's a Joe's Domage, which is basically studio demos from this period. It's not the greatest, but it's all right. So we have Zappa on here, of course. We have Sal Marquez, who plays a lot of the horns. Alex Demachowski on bass. He goes also by Erroneous. Ainsley Dunbar on drums. Tony Duran on slide guitar. George Duke on keyboards. Sneaky Pete Kleinow on pedal steel. And a few other people. So anything else you want to add to that, Grant?
Well, I don't think I could add much more to that, but I do want to say that Ainsley Dunbar on this record, on fire. In fact, the whole band's on fire. I think that this record is it's almost like a return to form to some degree, I don't even know where to start. I mean, the whole thing, this is a much different record than the Grand Wazoo. And I look at both of these like they go hand in hand because really the instrumentation, they really sound very similar. I do think the Grand Wazoo is a much better recording. I know we haven't gotten to that yet, but we're kind of talking about both of them. But man, the Big Swifty, this starts off with the Big Swifty. This almost sounds like prog to me.
It's like a 17 and a half minute track as well. So,
but it's also like acid jazz.
Yeah. It's fast. It's fast track too, for the most part. It starts out with all these, it has about 4 or 5 riffs in the first couple of minutes. And it's real fast and just tons of horns on this that are overdubbed. And you got the guitar playing a riff along with it. It has a spacey keyboard part, an electric piano section by George, and you get some alternating guitar solos with Frank and Sal Marquez over it's kind of a real loose jazz track at that point. Frank really does some shredding later on in this song too on the guitar for quite a few minutes, and I think that's about 6 or 7 minutes of this solo and back and forth with him and Sal, and then you get some Tony Duran slide guitar work, and then Frank and Sal do some more soloing over kind of a fusion section. Then they get back into the introductory riffs that I was talking about that are really cool riffs, but they're a little more looser at the end. And like I say, you hear all these. I think Sal Marquez is playing most of the horns on here, but it's just tons of overdubbing going on.
But they sound so good.
It sounds like a big band.
Right.
But
is it Sal on the Grand Wazoo too?
Yeah, they do have a few other guys on the other album, the next album, from what I understand. So, but mostly this is just Sal overdubbed a bunch.
I like it.
It's a long track with a lot of soloing, and just like I said, tons of horns, and you get some George Duke solo in here too, which is great. So That's the whole first side right there, Big Swifty.
But it's great. I think it's a lot. If we
solid.
kind of compare, I hate to really compare it to the Grand Wazoo because they are two different records, but this record to me sounds a bit darker than Wazoo. It's a darker sounding record. It's a little bit more out there. I think the Grand Wazoo as an album is a little bit more down to earth. Probably a little bit more accessible. Some of this on this record is pretty out there. But
we'll get to that.
I know. It's hard not to talk about both of them.
Talk about it big picture. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard not to talk about both because they're both very similar. Though, Grand Wazoo's mostly instrumental. This has a lot of vocals on it. But it really stands out because of that down period. Frank writing all this while he's in the wheelchair. It really goes to show you how great a composer he was. And it really stands out. This is I'm sorry, since the Mothers, original Mothers, that stuff, which I think's absolutely brilliant, this I almost like just as much. And I love it when he does instrumental stuff. Yeah. It's nothing alike, but it's almost at that level. Because we're only in it for the money. It's a perfect record. Absolutely freeze close to perfect. This is pretty, if I'm going to rate it, I would really rate it high, but I'm going to wait.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, it's an extension of the Hot Rats album, but this has got way more horns on it. I mean, that had horns, but it was Ian Underwood mostly doing saxes.
Yeah.
Where this is mostly brass trumpets and some trombones, but a lot of muted trumpets too on here. So,
Dan, we are okay. Yeah, we're gonna do. I hate to jump all over, but we're live. It's fun. We're gonna do the Grand Funk live album, the second live album, and then after that, we are gonna do the Zappa record, Grand Funk. I can't really appreciate Frank's vocals much, so I really like these two albums a ton. Yeah, it's kind of nice because he's not really singing on any of these, and he's got other singers. Like if we talk about Your Mouth, that's a blues song, huh?
Yeah, let's go on with that because that's the next track on the album here.
I wrote on my notes, it says, so nice to be free of Flo and Eddie. Because even though Flo and Eddie were so great in the Turtles, they just overpowered all the Frank Zappa material as far as I'm concerned. And it just wore me out. Wore me out, Byron. I was tired. And this is basically a blues type of track. It's very straightforward.
Right. I wrote some mid-tempo R&B rock track, really.
Yeah, it's not really any experimentation. It's just an R&B track.
Right. It's got a lot of horns on this again, and you got vocals by Sal Marquez and Chris Peterson. I think that's a female because I thought it sounded like a female, but I could be wrong about that. Got some nice vocal melodies.
Yeah,
there's no soloing on it really that I remember, and
straightforward.
So basically, I get the impression it's a song about what might happen to you if you like to tell lies. Something bad could happen to you.
Right.
That's short. Like it's 3 minutes and 12 seconds. It's a good solid.
It's the single.
Yeah.
But it just might be a one-shot deal. You know what this makes me sound? It sounds like a lot of these bands later really were influenced by this record. I have no idea, but I always thought that this sounded like Ween or The Residents or something like that. It sounds like they listened to this and were influenced. I have no idea.
I don't know those bands, so I can't comment. All I can say is this one's another short one at 4:15, but
yeah,
it's a strange song, man. It's out there.
Is that steel guitar that's on there? I can't tell.
That's that sneaky Pete Kleinow with the I think pedal steel, but
it sounds so odd.
Yeah, I mean, it starts out with these. He's got these themes going on. And then it just kind of stops, and then there's these real dissonant bridges that just come out of nowhere. They have nothing to do with the rest of the song, but then he breaks into these steel guitar parts. So half of it sounds like a country western song, and the other half of it's just bizarre.
It's very bizarre, but it's catchy too.
Yeah, at times it is.
I put in my notes. It says it's commercial in a Frank Zappa sense, but it's odd.
It's an odd track. It's like three different parts to it. It feels like that are completely unrelated to each other. So,
and then we go to Waka Jawaka, which I think is the perfect segue to the Grand Wazoo. It basically sounds like something that could be on that record to me. It's got horns. It's got piano. It sounds okay. This is what I wrote on my notes. It sounds like Herb Alpert on steroids. This song.
Yeah, it comes right out of the gate too with the melody and the horns. Where some of the other songs it kind of there's like this intro, but that one just comes right on out, and it's very melodic. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like 3 or 4 trumpets going at it. Like you said, it's got that Herb Alpert feel. But I like it. I like that. But I thought the rhythm section on this track was really good. And about a minute in, we get this real nice trumpet solo. And you can hear Frank in the background just kind of strumming these real clean, almost funky chords. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that through the song. And you get some synth solos. And
is he in the wheelchair playing that?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean,
the end of the song. See, I'm not sure, but there's that guitar interplay that's played with the horns or whatever.
Yeah.
That's Frank, right? Is that Frank?
Were they playing the similar lines?
They're doing the same runs.
Yeah, it probably is. But like I said, Tony Duran is on here, but I think he's mostly doing slide stuff. So slide it might, but I don't think it was slide. I think it was, Frank matching the horns lines. So, I mean, you get a little bit of a drum solo there, and then like the final 3 minutes or so is like the introduction. But I think the instrumentation's a little bit different, so it has a slightly different feel. And that song's great too. I mean, this album is bookended by 2 incredible instrumentals.
It's wonderful.
Shorter songs in between. Your Mouth. I said Your Mouth is really good. It just might be a one-shot deal. It's okay, but it's just weird though.
But Waka Jawaka at the end just turns into a jazz fusion piece.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Great.
God dang, it's good. I was so down on that other period, and you kept telling me, Grant, we'll just wait till we get to Waka Jawaka. You'll be back. God, I love it.
I mean, I knew it was. I didn't like these albums as much when I first heard them.
Really?
That was in the 80s. I wanted more comedy back in those days. You just muted yourself.
Shoot. The comedy thing shtick just wears me out.
Well, but you got to understand, when I say I wanted more comedy, I was interested in like the Chic Your Booty, Joe's Garage stuff, but I was just buying up anything I could find. And then I picked up, I think, Grand Wazoo first. And I was like, well, there's no comedy to this, really.
But it just wears me out. Because the thing, we've talked about this, he gets kind of juvenile. And the fact that it just reached a low with Flo and Eddie stuff, I just think it's just monotonous and not funny. It's not smart like the Mothers stuff was. The Mothers weren't, it was smart. It was satire. It was everything. It was so good. And just for this, there's nothing funny here. It's serious stuff. I love it. I think it's great. But I think it does end on a great note. Waka Jawaka is a classic. Byron Boldt, what would you rate this out of 10?
Make me go first. You're going to go first on the next one.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I can go first if you want.
Well, you go first.
Okay. Now, everyone knows that's been watching this series is that I think We're Only in It for the Money is a 10. You can't get any better than that. That is the top of the heap. So if it is,
okay.
So far, I would rate this an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
That's pretty damn good. I think this is every bit as good as the debut. Well, God, can I say that? That's pretty strong statement. Is it as good as Uncle Meat?
Man.
I think I could. No, I think yes. I think I can. I think I'm comfortable going an 8 on this. I love it. It's not as good as the Mothers, but Frank is back as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Wait till we get to the Grand Wazoo. Go ahead, Byron. What's your score?
Okay. I had to go back again and look at what I ranked for some other ones as well, because you like to be, you don't like to be inconsistent or anything. But I had put I'm giving it an 8 as well.
All right, cool. At least for both.
I think I had given Hot Rats an 8.5, and I didn't think this was quite as good as Hot Rats. So
I hate music. Where is Loki? Who knows? Loki doesn't come here that often. Okay, cool. Excellent. 2 8s. Okay, let's go with the Grand Wazoo. Now this, what does Rand like? Loves both? Oh, Mahavishnu and meets Babe Ruth. Oh, wait a minute. Rand, I recommend you check them out on YouTube. They are like the Mahavishnu meets Babe Ruth. Who are we checking out? Rand, do you know the band Fusion Orchestra? Yeah, I agree. I can't go no Flo and Eddie. I love the Turtle stuff. There's no shtick there. They're just shtick. Wears me out. Hot Rats is Digon's favorite album. I got it. Yep. All right, let's go on to the Grand Wazoo and keep it moving. God, I think this is even better than Waka Jawaka. For one, the recording quality on this record is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Everything is well recorded. It's not like 200 Motels. It sounds like crap. And a lot of that Flo and Eddie stuff I didn't think was well recorded.
Weird. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. I got to put up the damn record.
These are all recorded at basically the same time as well.
Well, there's something about the Grand Wazoo.
I don't know what that means. So
I don't know, but there's something about this record that sounds better.
I'm not going to argue with you.
All right. It sounds great. What did I put? Okay. Let's start off with the Grand Wazoo. First track.
I want to talk about the album in general first before we start talking about tracks.
Go ahead. Talk about it, Byron.
I got notes here, man. I had put down a note. It's like, why is this the Mothers and the other album isn't? So whatever.
Why is it? Someone in the chat. Why is this a Mothers album and the other one's not?
And this one was released November 27th of 72 and was recorded April to May of 72, similar to the Hot Rats, Waka Jawaka. Once again, Cal Schenkel did the cover. It's a very nice cover on this one, very detailed. If you look in the book in here, there's a long story about Grant the Grand Wazoo. And the cover kind of tells that story. It's like two armies of musicians, and they do battle with each other on a regular basis or something. And this is supposed to be Uncle Meat on the back.
Is this the version that you have, Byron? Do you have the Ryko?
I have the very original Ryko.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go on a tangent, but you remember back in the day when CDs came out, remember they had that green pen. Someone came out and said, you know what? If you put green around the outer edge of the CD, it does something with the light deflection. You remember that?
Not necessarily.
I picked this up used, and this has still got its original. Well, someone added it, but this is like circa 1984 when people are putting this green on there. Supposedly, it helped with sound quality. Everybody in the chat remember that?
I watch a show called Techmoan once in a while. He's a British guy, and he did a show where there's some device that somebody made back in the day where it would grind the edge of your CD at an angle, which is supposed to, do this a similar thing with help with the light diffusion or something, and he said it didn't make a damn bit of difference.
No.
Just a
But
tad.
anyway, this is so old. This has got a smooth-sided jewel case. This is CDs made in Japan. This Ryko CD, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
I have not heard the 2012 version of it. This CD, absolutely wonderful sounding on Ryko. Absolutely stunning sound on here. Wow.
Does your disc say made in USA? My disc says made in USA, but the
Mine
cover
says
says
made in Japan. Made in Japan.
All right. Okay, so yeah, a couple other things about this. So this is the 80s. These are the 86 CDs, apparently. Though. Yours is Japanese.
Mine's 80. I think this is 86, right?
Yeah. They had extra reverb. Duh, I've said that about every freaking CD that was initially reissued. But it has, I believe this is the correct song order. Okay, but so I'm going to get into that here in a second.
Okay.
In the 90 and 95 CDs, they added more treble, I was told, and they swapped the first two songs order. The 2012 has the original vinyl mix, but the tracks are still swapped. And I also read that they had some technical issues with some of the 2012 discs. But so the original was supposed to, I think, Calvin and his next two Hitchhikers is the first track originally.
Yeah, this is Calvin and his.
Yeah, but I think the original vinyl, it was the Grand Wazoo led the album off. So,
So I made notes, but now I'm not sure because I printed out. See, now I'm confused. I don't know if my notes are correct because I'm looking at it, and now that you've said that, and I go online and look, print out like the track listing, not paying attention. All right, you might have to play it by ear, but this my CD is Calvin,
same
the Grand Wazoo, Cletus, Eat That Question, Blessed Relief.
Right.
All right, I hope my notes are right. I'm not sure now.
I'm going to discuss it in the wrong order, probably. Well, I got Grand Wazoo first in my notes.
Now, let me ask you this before we go down that road, because we're talking about these CDs. Was this remixed? Did Frank remix this particular version?
I think they just.
Do you remember?
When he added reverb. Do you call that remixing, or I don't think that's remixing.
No, that would just be added reverb. But
yeah, it's my understanding he didn't.
I didn't really detect anything that was offensive. You listen to you go back and you listen to the re-recorded drum and bass for "We're Only in It for the Money," and it absolutely wants you absolutely want to jump out of a window. This is not like that.
No, it's just.
I really didn't. I didn't detect anything, and I thought it really sounded wonderful. So I'll give Frank some props.
So the only other note about this was, so technically this album does have a bigger band on the first two tracks. Other than that, it's pretty much the same lineup for the last three songs are the same lineup as on the Waka Jawaka album, in general. But he did have more people playing on the first two tracks on this album. So
Okay.
we can get into the songs now.
Yeah, that's good. What was I going to say? But you mentioned the horns and how it's a bigger band. This is so full sounding. When I was playing it, it felt like I was right in the room with the band. If I'm listening to something, that's really what I want. And this record to me was just Christmas. Byron, I am so sold on this record. You were right. Said, Grant, you're going to like these.
Well, I mean, I think I assume you've had these albums for 30, 40 years.
No. I had all the original Mother stuff.
Right.
Everything up to Uncle Meat. And no, and Hot Rats. This stuff, I'm getting it. I'm listening to it. It's like a first listen. I was sold on the Mother stuff, and every time I heard some of this stuff, I go, it's not the Mother stuff. I thought that was superior.
Right. Yeah, I remember I bought this when it came out because I had never seen it, and then I saw, it's coming out on CD, so I went out and got the CD when it came out. And that was '86, so 38 years I've had it. So
look at it, and it still plays. Anyway, go ahead. Start us off on the tracks.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with the Grand Wazoo because that's the way I wrote it down. So it's a 13 plus a minute track. Once again, we're starting out with a long song. It really picks up where the prior album left off. There's more horns, but I don't know that you really notice that because it's probably just less overdubbing. But they're technically more guys playing as opposed to just the one guy doing all the overdubs. So
maybe that's more effective. I don't know.
I'm
good with
sound too, it starts out with just kind of vamping and some guitar soloing, but then it breaks into some of the major themes of the track. And there's about 4 of those. You get some slide guitar by Tony Duran. You get a trombone solo by a guy named Billy Byers. And Sal has some trumpet solos and kind of goes back to the theme. You even get at the end, you get a Don Preston mini Moog solo though. Don was not on the other album, so he's on this album though.
It's got, like Rand says, Waka Jawaka is what a wah-wah guitar sounds like, especially on songs like Shaft. It's got like a nice funky groove. You could play it. It could be under a porn movie from 1972.
I have Shaft around here somewhere.
But yeah, so I think I'm going to have to, I think I do have my notes correct on here. So, but the guitar on this album smokes. Don't you think? God damn. And all the guitar parts fit really well. It's like it's well thought out. Because some of, Frank's solos and his parts, it just seems like he's flying by the seat of his pants. This sounds like it's very well constructed as far as the guitar parts go.
Well, I mean, he did a lot of work composing these tracks, so he probably put some effort into composing a lot of his guitar parts as well.
Look, the dog is here.
But then the second track on side 1, at least in this, is for Calvin and his next 2 hitchhikers. And what I read was when they talked about Calvin here, it was supposed to be Cal Schenkel. But it's kind of a slow and creepy song at the beginning with some strange vocals. And
there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if he's talking. You hear these lyrics and you think, did he pick up his hitchhikers and kill them? Because we don't know what happened to these hitchhikers. But there's like some free jazz saxophone in the song and some trombone and Moog soloing, probably from Don Preston again. Then it breaks into the New Brown Clouds melody. That's comes from Gregory Peccary, which we haven't gotten that album yet, but he would reuse certain themes here and there. Mm-hmm. That one comes up again in Gregory Peccary. And, get a lot of horns here again. And the last minute or so of the song is very complicated. And it had to have been, charted because it's just very structured and complex. Where, a lot of the song, like I said before, was kind of free jazz in the middle, other than the singing parts. So go ahead.
Mrs. BM Boldt, totally agree with you, Marlon.
I didn't see what Marlon said.
Oh, here, let's go back.
Marlon
said, I give most of Zappa's music the shaft. Your wife agreed with him.
Yeah, she was saying at dinner how she thinks Zappa's crappy.
Uh-oh, look at this. Grant, I get nothing out of the Grand Wazoo. Sounds like a 6th grade band goofing off. We all hear this stuff differently. I do appreciate the comment. It's a damn good band. I like it. Grateful. I like the reissue of Apostrophe and Chic Your Booty. All right, so
What were you thinking about Calvin and his next two?
I love it. Part of it harkens back to the old Mothers to me, even though the vocals don't sound like it. But it does have that kind of, it's set up like an old Mothers song, which takes me back. And I wrote on my notes, I said, boy, the recording sure sounds great. And as you mentioned later in the track, it's almost like it takes on like a tiki or a lounge type of flair. It's like lounge music and jazz meet. I love it. I know, I'm just saying, I dig it quite a bit. Very refreshing. That's basically all I wrote. So far, I think so good. I'm really sold. Then we go to Cletus.
Cletus Auritus Auritus. Yeah.
Say that really fast. Cletus Auritus Auritus. And that's like a short little diddly.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
2:55.
Yeah. Short. I got short, fast, lots of horns, heavy guitar, organ, and piano. You get sounds like a tack piano solo in the middle of it. Some sax solo, and it's got this vocal section. La, 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 la. Yeah, which I love. I love this. So vocals, they're just kind of goofy vocal. I don't think is there really any lyrics or other than just singing la 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 whatever. I think that's all it was.
Yeah.
But it's a very complex song as well. It reminds me of Etched in His Arf of You from Roxy and Elsewhere, if anybody knows that. It's got this real complicated runs and it's real fast like that. It's got that same feel. That's probably my favorite song on the album. It's short and sweet, man, but it's good.
I think, so far the Grand Wazoo is my favorite. I mean, it's just an epic But yeah, I agree with that. I have no problem with Cletus Auritus at all. I don't have much to add than what you've said. I say keep going. Keep going, Byron.
It's rocking, man.
It does rock.
It's good.
Well, wait a minute, Marlon. You're saying Zappa's guitar, it's sloppy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it is all over the place. He's flying by the seat of his pants.
Jeff Beck was sloppy, too.
I've never seen Jeff Beck be sloppy.
But
Marlon, listen to Waka Jawaka, the title track. He's playing fluid guitar lines right along with the horn section. God, it's brilliant. Check that out, Marlon, and report back.
Everybody listen to Cletus Auritus Auritus. It's only 3 minutes.
Page was sloppy live, but Page is not sloppy in the studio. Some people can't play live.
I just felt Beck would take so many chances live that it didn't always work. That was my thing about him.
Well, I think Zappa did too.
Yeah.
He never knew what he was going to play.
No,
he would just play it.
He'd improvise. Everything was just an improvisation live for him. So yeah. So like the next song we got is "Eat That Question." It's almost 6:45 or so. It's okay. So this is kind of got the introduction to this is kind of real mellow electric piano. It's George Duke.
I think that's I think it's a Fender Rhodes.
Yeah, which is electric piano, right?
Yeah,
I think so. But yeah, it's kind of a legendary intro from what I've heard. But
I think it's beautiful.
And yeah, it's just this nice little and so it's not a real fast song. It's kind of a slow song, but so once again, you got a lot of horns and there's a long keyboard solo in here and some guitar solo in. And it kind of goes back to the main theme at the end. I'd have to hear it again to explain it a little bit better, but
it's hard to explain some of this stuff.
Yeah, because it's just instrumental jamming, and horns. So, but yeah, I love
Nick
it.
loves the Grand
Great
Wazoo.
track.
There you go.
Great track.
Yeah, 72 Marlon. Both of these records came out in 72. I like Eat That Question for the exact same. I think what George Duke brings to the table on that Fender Rhodes, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, there's not. This is an instrumental record. I mean, how do you really describe it? You'd have to really experience it for yourself. Hey, Jack's back. Hey, Jack, how are you? Nice to see you. Still got your wrench, I see. Uh-huh. I took care of you yesterday.
Yeah, I remember Frank doing. He's got a nice guitar. So the song starts, like I said, real slow with that piano part, and then it kind of builds up. And Frank's got a real nice solo later on, and it's just a great track.
It
And
is
then the
great.
last track is Blessed Relief, and that's like 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty mellow track throughout. It's a lot of electric piano, kind of setting the mood for the song, and then it breaks into the main theme. What I noticed on this track was the drums are way back in the mix. They're there, but they're just real subtle on this track because, it's pretty much the electric piano and this clean guitar over the top. And they didn't want the drums getting in the way of that. But
Sounds great.
there's a lot of improvising. It goes along with it as well. But, it's just a good way to end the album. But it's mellower.
It's mellower. It's great, though. I'm sold on this record, Byron. Eddie Van Halen was very sloppy also, said Nathan. You know, what was that story? I hate to go on a tangent, but we do this in the Warehouse. Wasn't there a story about Eddie yelling at Michael Anthony? Something about Eddie Van Halen couldn't really play in a proper key. That he's just playing out like maybe someone knows that story, but he was yelling at Michael Anthony for playing something, and Eddie's going, "I can't play that." Do you know that story, Byron? You ever hear that story? There was something, I can't remember the whole thing, but Eddie would never really play in the proper key. He just played a bunch of notes. I don't
You mean so time like when he's soloing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I think I read where Eddie said, it's not the wrong note if it sounds good. Because, you can say, oh, we'll play this in, A pentatonic minor. And it's like, okay, well, but I'm gonna throw in a major third here. And if it sounds good, it sounds good. It may not be the right note for the scale, but if it sounds good, it sounds good. So, yeah.
All right. Well, but there's something about that, in the studio, they pieced together all those solos. He would do different takes, and they would take little bits of every solo, and then Eddie would have to relearn the solo that they edited together.
Okay.
And a lot of it was, he would be, at the lower end of the neck, and then he'd be up high. I mean, it was all over the place, and it was really hard for him to play because the solos are so wild. It's not how he would have played them normally. I don't know. It's just interesting. I think that was that in that, you ever see that video from the record plant where they're talking about Eddie Van Halen and how he did things?
Nope.
It's on YouTube. The record plant has videos. They were putting out a whole bunch, and then they kind of stopped. I don't know.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The Edge was not. All right, here we go. Hey, Grant, Waka Jawaka is better. Seems mostly jazz, not my thing. Yeah, it's jazz fusion. I think it's great. Where is the Zapp song, Don't Eat the Yellow Snow? That seems the best. But that just seems so shticky to me.
that's on apostrophe. Well, that's
Yeah.
coming up in the next couple shows, probably.
I like this stuff because it shows everybody's chops. There's no shtick here. It's just pure Zappa the composer and the band showing their chops. And I think I love it. And there's nothing here that I sit here and cringe that we're talking about Yellow Snow or anything like that. But we haven't gotten to those records yet.
No. Someday. So
My
what did
first.
you get? Oh,
What?
go ahead.
No, Steven said my first introduction to Zappa was Overnight Sensation and then Chic Your Booty. So those top my list. Steven's got a good point. It has a lot of these records depend on where you come into them. I came into the first thing I think I bought was We're Only in It for the Money because that's what I read about. And I like that whole era, 1967, 68. I love that. So that's where I came in, and I still think that stuff's the best. So I guess it all depends. Everyone's mileage does vary.
I don't think there's a Zappa era I don't like. There's a couple albums that I don't care for, but it's really not era dependent. So I just love you, jeez.
We need to do a show on sloppy guitar playing. Jerry Joyce, it's not a lie if you believe it. That's true. It's called jazz non-diatonic. Diatonic. God, you guys, I can't keep up with everybody. You know what I thought was weird? That Frank had a Steve Vai in the band, and Steve Vai could play anything, but Frank was still playing most of this. Did he ever let Steve Vai ever play a solo?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get ahead of us a bit. Like on the song Stevie Spanking, it's Steve soloing mostly. I think Frank jumps in with a little bit of a solo here and there.
Shanker sucks.
There's some other things that he would.
Marlon's on fire tonight. Anyway, let's get back to the thing. What would you rate this?
Let's rank this thing.
What were you ranked this?
I like this one a little better than the Waka Jawaka. So I was, but I don't want to go too high, but I was going to give it an 8.5.
I was going to give it a 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you really like it, though.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is excellent. Top-notch Zappa as far as I'm concerned.
Marking them down.
Mark it down. Is this, other than We're Only in It for the Money, you've got the whole list, right? You've been keeping track.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to build a spreadsheet when we get all done, and we're going to, then maybe we'll do a ranking of the albums episode.
Yeah, when we're 90.
Maybe our top 10. We'll
We'll
all
be
those
90.
we talked about. Maybe after we do all the stuff that he released during his lifetime. Because the posthumous stuff, it's hit or miss. There's some stuff that's good, and a lot of it's like, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need it, But,
all right, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike other albums. I have Apostrophe, Joe's Garage, Waka Jawaka, and others. Stephen David, do you have We're Only in It for the Money? I'd like to know what you think of that. I do think Marlon may need a hug. He seems very negative tonight.
Let's see here.
I don't know. I don't have much to add. I give it a 9. I think it is a must-have. This is one of the best records so far that post the original Mothers that I could highly recommend to anybody.
Yeah, you have this. You had a couple 10s, and then you've had 2 9s. This is one of your 2 9s.
What was my other 9?
Uncle Meat.
Yeah, Uncle Meat, definitely.
And your 10s were absolutely free and were only money. So there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got this one way up there.
Yeah, I think it deserves it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I can't remember if I Shut Up and Play Your Guitar or not. It must have been unremarkable. I think I can hardly wait till we get to that one.
Yeah, I got that over there somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure you do. He hates Zappa and Michael and me at Grant. Who? Who hates Zappa and Michael and you? Who?
You talking about Marlon, maybe?
Marlon?
Everybody's always talking about Marlon, so it could be.
The
I
only
like
guitar.
Marlon.
Go ahead.
Marlon and I get along. We have a lot of similar tastes.
The only guitar player who wasn't sloppy was Nervous Norvis. Check him out. I don't think Jeff Beck was sloppy. You think Jeff Beck was sloppy?
I think live he took a lot of chances and it didn't always work.
I thought Beck was, as far as an electric rock player, whatever you want to call him. You know, he's not playing classical, flamenco, whatever. He always improved over time. He never was complacent. Eddie Van Halen, you hear Eruption, okay? And I'm not picking on him. I remember when Eruption came out, it was absolutely, everybody stopped in their tracks. We'd never heard anything like that. It's just like Hendrix. When Hendrix came out, no one heard anything like that, okay? When you heard Eddie Van Halen 1978, when I was a kid, I just was like, what the hell? Where's this guy coming from? Okay. Jeff Beck is one of those guitar players. I think Jeff Beck is even better than Eddie. Because, okay, and this is, you guys can fight with me and tell me I'm an idiot or I'm out of my line. I know we're on a tangent, but let's talk real quick. You look at Eddie playing Eruption, and you look at Eddie on, I don't know, the reunion album with David Lee Roth. And what year was that? 2011, 2018? What was that?
2012-ish, maybe?
2012?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
You tell me where Eddie Van Halen has improved. He basically stopped when he was 25. Or whatever he was. See, what was he in 77? Let's say he's 25.
The first four albums by Van Halen, I think, are pretty amazing. But there was nothing after that that was like, wow.
The thing that I think Eddie's
it was good, but
it was more the same.
Yeah.
It was no one gives him enough credit, but his rhythm playing was excellent. As a rhythm guitar player, he was top notch. And yeah, I know all that Eruption crap that he did for solos and all that's all great, but I don't think he improved as a player. Now, Jeff Beck was constantly changing his style, improving. You look at some of that later Jeff Beck stuff and his technique with his, right hand and what he was doing, the way he controlled the bar. Yeah. I mean, he just developed. It's sad that he passed away because God knows what he could have. If he would have had another 20 years, where he would have ended up. I mean, you know what I mean. He never stayed the same. Kept improving. I'm just throwing it out there. Eddie just was what you got, and on the debuts, what you got.
Yeah, and it was great. But yeah, I mean.
Now, Frank is a guitar player. I don't really know, but do you think Zappa improved? Did his technique improve over time? Throwing it out there to you. Or anybody in the chat. Because we're talking 1972 here, and you might look at this as some of this is kind of sloppy, but if you're a Zappa fan, did he improve over time? Throwing it out there to the chat.
Well, if you go back to the early Mothers albums, there's not a lot of guitar playing on there. And sometimes it's not even him on some of those solo albums. It's session players. But I don't think he was a great guitar player in the early days. Well, I think he was still learning to play guitar in the early days of the Mothers. He didn't come to guitar originally. He was a drummer. And then, I think he still was learning to play the guitar during the other early Mothers days. He was so much about composing. So he never practiced a lot, I think. So he developed throughout the 70s. Mm-hmm. But he never, he'd go a year or two without even playing the guitar later on in his life. If he wasn't going out on the road, he wasn't picking up a guitar. So
yeah, I don't think Jeff Beck was sloppy. Dan says some of Eddie's best playing is on Diver Down in 1984. What's different on Diver Down in 1984 that was different on the debut or from Eruption or anything? What's he doing on those two records that's any different than he did before? Did he make any giant leaps? I don't know. I'm not throwing it out there. I don't hear it.
There's some great playing on there, but like you say, it's not like it was any different than what he'd been doing. I enjoy those albums, but Eddie didn't do anything in the last 25, 30 years of his life, really, that you would say, yeah, that was great.
Holy crap, that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I get it. Zappa was a shredder before shredders. Would you agree with that? We've got BM Boldt here, who's a big shredder fan. Is Zappa a shredder before
I
shredders?
don't know. He's definitely a unique player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's no Uli John Roth or Michael Schenker or Yngwie Malmsteen, but he's just,
So what, Marlon?
he had
What
a
was
unique playing.
so Marlon? What was it about Jeff with a pick that was better? You don't like him playing with his fingers? What was it about it that you liked better? Jeff Beck, bow by bow. Yeah, great, but he improved even from that. Michael, I'll take the solo of Going Down over anything Eddie did, and Eddie was great. All right. Roy Buchanan, excellent, yes. Stephen Frank is a great guitar player, yes. He'd love to kick the wah-wah pedal in back position.
Here's the thing about Frank. Technically, he wasn't the greatest guitar player ever. But I'm going to tell you this. When you hear Frank solo, you know it's Frank. You just know it's him. He's totally unique. So you may not like it. Some people may not like his style, but it's unique.
Well, the thing is that the really good players, whether you're going to argue with me or not, the people that have really distinct tone are the best players. You might not technically be so great, but look at, let's say, if Angus Young plays a solo, a lot of better guitar players, though. I think Angus Young's pretty damn good. It's Angus Young. Ace Frehley plays a solo. It's Ace Frehley. Now, so maybe he's not technically great, but what was it about? Who was it? Oh, crap. Someone had said something. Ace in the studio was great because he knew where to start the solo and where to end it. And his solos really almost told a story to some degree because they did have a beginning and an ending. Some guys don't know how to end. Ace could always do the solo and always end it correctly. Gotta hand it to him. Rick Nielsen's got a unique tone, though you couldn't hear it on the 80s because of all the crappy production. Don't get me started. But live, you can tell who it is. I'm just saying, there's a lot of great... Oh, wait a minute, Steven. Hold on. I'm on a tangent. To answer your question, Grant, I don't have that album, which he's referring to early for the money, but I played a couple of tracks. It's Frank Zappa. I expect craziness musically and presentation. To me, it is in the lyrics. Well, I appreciate that. But I love this instrumental stuff. God. Ken White, Zappa was very unique in his guitar playing. Yes, correct. Okay, here we go. Jeff Beck, when he was playing a pick, it was heavier and he had better tone. I don't know. I listened to that stuff. Have you listened to that? What was I think
it was more new. Beck was more nuanced. The word I'm going to use when he got rid of the pick.
More nuanced. I think there was more feeling.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was better or worse, but there was
different.
More dynamics to his playing that way, maybe.
Okay, here we go. Dan says Eddie became more melodic and excelled at simple rhythms on those two albums. Okay, but did he really grow as a player, though? My whole argument is Jeff Beck evolved over time. I don't think Eddie Van Halen evolved. I think what you saw in 77 is what you got when he passed away. Or maybe you might have got less. I don't know. Goodbye, Poor Cat. Jeff Beck, brilliant. I agree. His son became a shredder. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Marlon. Frank Marino is the best Frank guitar player. Thoughts, Byron?
I responded with Frank Gambale. But, that's a whole different style. Frank O'Malley's more of a jazz fusion guy.
Frank,
Man, he can sweep pick like the best, though, man. He's probably the best sweep picker out there. But, you know, a lot of people aren't into that kind of jazz fusion. So.
Yeah. Ernesto, Frank Marino is the best Canadian shredder. That's quite a statement.
Well,
Eric Clapton is the same. You know him. Okay.
Yeah. He didn't do much the last 50 years either, really.
Well, yeah, well, we don't want to go into Clapton. I don't think Clapton was all that hot. Maybe, you know, in 66, 67, before Hendrix came on the scene.
He was groundbreaking for a while.
Yeah.
I still like Clapton's. I still listen to his newer albums. Well, last 20 years.
How would you?
He's all right, but he's more of a song.
We've went an hour. We need to wrap it up.
More of a song guy now. He's not really a guitar guy anymore. He's more of a song guy.
I did listen to the Blues Breakers record, the John Mayall album that he's on, and there's some great licks on there. Oh, yeah. He was on fire on that record.
Nobody was playing like that when that album came out.
Right, but then when Hendrix hit, I think that's when he decided he'd change. Of course, Cream, Blind Faith, but on Blind Faith he was playing that Telecaster. So he already abandoned the Gibsons by then, I think. You know, well, of course, when he went Fender, his sound totally changed.
To me, Derek and the Dominoes is his, tour de force epic album. But
Tony Iommi struggled with a good ending to his solo. Yeah. Hey, there's not many guys like Ace Frehley, and I think Elliot Easton needs some props because I know all his solos are worked out, but perfect soloing, great tone, great everything. And Ace Frehley, it's Ace Frehley, and he knew exactly how to play that solo. Robin Trower canceled tour today due to illness. Oh no!
Thanks.
Robin Trower. Another
great
what
tone.
What a tone.
What a tone.
Of course he thinks he's Hendrix, but
you hear that tone, it's him. He can't sing worth the shit, but
we don't need to hear him sing, but he's such a good player.
Yeah.
Dan says the guitarist and the band Steamhammer were both incredible.
I haven't heard them.
Eddie was growing with his booze addiction. Well, maybe that's part of this problem. I don't have a problem with Eddie. I'm just saying guitar players that grew over time and, perfected their craft.
It's kind of like Malmsteen. Malmsteen came out and just everybody's jaw hit the floor as well. And his first 4, 5, 6 albums were like, wow, but nothing's changed in 40 years. Did you hear that? Anybody in the chat? Did you check out that latest Robin Trower album? That with the female vocal? Yeah. It was great, and his playing on there. I got to hear that again.
Freaking Robin Trower, man! God, he's so great.
He sang on 3 or 4 of his own albums, and it's not good.
Hey, in the listening party last night, I played "Shoot Shoot" from UFO. And I must say, Michael Schenker on that record, his guitar tone on Shoot Shoot, God, you gotta love it. He was on fire right then. Who's getting close to 80? Robin Trower? Robin Trower is 79, but he's still great. You have to hand it to him. God, go check out some of those videos on YouTube of him from recent times. Wow. Man, Gibson rules. Yeah, it depends. Trower's using a Strat. That's a total Strat sound. Gibson won't do that. But a lot of it is in your fingers. The tone comes from you. You could put Eddie on any guitar and he's going to sound like Eddie. Put Eddie on you put him on like what he's done like... flamenco stuff or classical guitar. It sounds like Eddie on there. You know what I mean? That's a shame. Saw Robin Trower at Blues and Clues in Tijuana mid-'80s. Yeah, he's great. Steve Howe. I know we're now talking guitarists, but all right, we can talk about. Let's go for another 5 minutes. Steve Howe, I think. You remember back in the day? I don't know who's really into playing, but he used to be. The Guitar Player magazine used to have the Hall of Fame, and Steve Howe was one of the. When I was a kid,
Greats.
Hall of Greats.
Yeah. So was Steve Morse the first? Wasn't Steve Morse the first one to get the Hall of Greats, or was it Howe? One of those two.
He was one of the early ones. I think Steve Howe was the one who really got it. But when I was a kid and listening to Yes and Steve Howe's guitar playing, we were always amazed because he was so technical and everything was spot on. We were just totally blown away. I'm still blown away by Steve Howe.
We were having dinner and I picked up that Yes Fragile CD the other day. I told you the bonus tracks. One of the bonus tracks was America. So I was listening to that and it's like, man, Steve's really letting loose on this track. It's got a long solo on there. It's real country-ish at times.
Mm-hmm. I have not. I don't know if Byron's seen Dave Mason, but I have not. No. But as a player,
he was here last year, I think, too, at a free show. But it's our big 4th of July show. There's like 100,000 people there. It's like, I don't want to find.
I think that they think Dave Mason's more of a yacht rock guy now. You know, what was that hit in '77? Something about someone's in love. I can't remember what the hell that was, but
yeah, Dave Mason.
Yeah, Mason's one of the tastiest players ever. Great vibrato. I have to. Is the count here? I missed the count. Where is he?
We just disagree. We just disagree.
Who? No.
Mason? We just disagree with that song.
Oh, we just disagree. Yeah. But I think that's yacht rock. God, we're going to play that next week. Pete's on the channel. We'll be playing that. Yeah, but he's a great guitar player. Man, I wasn't thinking I'd talk Dave Mason, but that might be a good show. The counts here. Piggy from Voivod has an amazing tone, very identifiable. My favorite Canadian guitarist. I know Martin loves Voivod quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to be honest, I've never heard any Voivod. I'll have to check it out.
I've heard a couple albums. I need to dive more into them. But it's hard to find their stuff.
Eddie said he couldn't do cover tunes because he could only play them like himself. Okay, I'm going to throw this out. Have you heard, Martin hates this record, but the Starfleet Project, where he and Brian May are trading back licks? Eddie's just playing like Clapton licks, just basic blues-based stuff. And he really, when he's not doing all the tappy stuff, he almost sounds really different.
Clapton was his guy.
Clapton, Eddie could
and maybe Holdsworth.
Alan Holdsworth was like his favorite player.
Those were his two favorites, I think. So he's kind of a combination of the two, really.
Mm-hmm. But he could play any Eric Clapton lick. But listen to the Starfleet Project, because it's just Eddie and Brian May, and, of course, Brian May's a monster. Just playing blues licks back and forth. It's kind of refreshing. Martin hates that record. But I kind of dig it. I really do kind of dig it. Just to hear Eddie play like that, because you don't normally hear that. He's actually got some soulful playing when he's doing it. Because if you listen to Eddie Van Halen, there's no soul there. It's just there's no. It's like Yngwie. There's no soul there. I'd rather listen to Eddie Van Halen than Yngwie, but do you see what I mean? I don't know. I could be talking out my ass.
I thought Eddie did great job doing a lot of covers in Van Halen. Maybe a little too many covers, but.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. He loves Starfleet. I think it's good.
It's all right.
I've got it on vinyl. I own that Starfleet album since it came out. Might have played 5 times since I've owned it. Meh. Well, whatever. I'm just saying, just to hear Eddie Van Halen play something else. That's all I'm saying.
I was thinking that the other day. It's like Eddie didn't do shit outside of Van Halen for the most part. A lot of great players would do all kinds of stuff. What did he do outside of Van Halen other than that and Beat It? I don't really
That's
know that
it,
he
I
did
think.
much. Did he? I mean,
Did Eddie play? Anybody out there know if Eddie played on anything else other than Starfleet and Beat It? Did he do anything? Any guitar parts
why
or
not?
any sessions at all?
What was he doing for the last 30 years?
What was he doing? I think he was sitting in
don't know.
5150, rotting his teeth out. The Eddie Van Halen book, Eruption, tells a story where Eddie bringing a Van Halen album to Zappa's house. Zappa thanked him for changing the way people play guitar. Well, he was very influential. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that he never really, once we got him in 1977 count, that's the Eddie that we had until he quit. He died. He never improved where Jeff Beck improved or refined his technique. Eddie just did the same thing over and over again. And it worked for him. I could never play like that. There's only one Eddie. He was drinking, and is that what he was doing? Okay. Oh, he played on a Roberta Flack album.
Really?
Well, what? Have you heard that, Dan? Have you heard him play on that? Oh, yeah, I've got that. He played on Hagar Records, played bass on all of one of them. Well, Hagar's got a ton. Hagar's got a... Sammy's got a ton.
Hagar album,
He only played on the one, and that's a good record.
Yeah, I like that album.
He did a lot of porn music. Didn't he do something? Didn't he do a porn soundtrack? He did. I heard about that. Oh, okay. Here we go. The count. Edward, addiction stumped his growth as a player. That, I think, that might. And look at Jeff Beck. I think Jeff Beck was probably a pretty clean living guy, and he just became just amazing. Your count, I think you're 100% right. I haven't heard any Roberta Flack ever.
I know a couple songs of that. I'm going to have to look that up, see if he did play on her album.
No, I think he did play on a Roberta Flack album.
All right, well, we'll check that out.
I don't know. All right, I guess it's just fun. We got to go. It's fun shooting the shit with everybody, though. I'll wait. Jamie's crying. Jump. Right Away Now are my favorite Van Halen songs. Hey, I don't have a problem with it. I think he was much as a songwriter and arranger. He's a hell of a keyboard player.
Nicolette Larson.
Did he play on Nicolette Larson?
He thinks he meant that.
Oh, okay. Theory. Frank Zappa is Theory. Frank Zappa is Frank with session musicians, and the Mothers is a bona fide band at that time.
Yeah, but these are the same fucking people on both albums, and one's Zappa and one's Mothers.
Oh, there. Byron's cussing.
I don't know why that is.
Rand,
man.
what's the deal with that? Why is the same album released in 1972? Why is one a Mother's album and why is one a Zappa album? Rand, this is a question for you.
And the same musicians basically on both.
Nicolette Larson. Okay. Can only take so much shredding. Well, Byron can live. Byron lives to shred. See you, Grateful. We're getting out of here. Steve Morse, another great guitar player.
That was some shred.
Okay,
Steve
count.
Morse.
Zappa got arrested. Yeah, that's right. He did get arrested for doing sounds for a porno. Yeah.
The Studio Z back in Cucamonga.
All right, everybody. Let's wrap this one up. So I gave Grand Wazoo a 9. Byron gave it, what, 8.5?
Yes, 8.5. And we both gave Waka Jawaka an 8.
An 8. It was fun hanging out with everybody and just shooting the shit. It's always fun to rap about stuff. We went on a bit of a tangent, but we do that in the warehouse. And it's a live show, and we're just talking music with everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody. Gary Joyce, The Count, Ken, everybody. God, Ernesto, Marlon, everybody for showing up, hanging out, and rapping music. So, Wednesday, what?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's coming up?
What's coming up? Oh, God darn. Well, I do. I don't do any Beatles content, but I am going to do Beatles content tomorrow. But I have to tell you what we're going to be doing. and we're going to record it. But I've got a small panel, I think, with Dave Lubin and Todd Evans, and we're going to rank our top 10 solo Beatles songs. Contrarians live on Wednesday at 7, and Sunday. Everybody, this is a must. Pete Pardo will be in the Warehouse on the listening party. We will be playing Yacht Rock starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for 2 hours.
What time will the technical issues be resolved?
They will be resolved. Or I will kill myself. But anyway, so tune in Sunday. We'll be rapping. And Pete has sent me his list of his favorite Yacht Rock tracks. Yes. So we will be talking about, and you know, if you've watched Sea of Tranquility, he loves that stuff. So, and it was his idea to do Yacht Rock. So I said, let's do it. Let's play some Yacht Rock. So that's what we'll be doing. So a week from Sunday, get ready, kids. It's going to be great. Well, actually, it'll be this Sunday. Crap, I don't even know what. Yeah, I know, Michael. I need to do another test stream. Yeah, A game, can I know?
You do the test stream like 15 minutes before you go on.
You know, that's probably a good idea.
And then don't fuck with anything.
That might be a good idea to do it 15 minutes before.
Yeah, that's what I think.
All right. Well, anyway, maybe we'll start a little early on Sunday and just do a test stream. And if people can show up and make sure we're good so we do an excellent show, I would appreciate it. Thanks, Grateful Dog. I appreciate it. Well, it's fun. I like just shooting the shit with you guys. Marlon, you'll be here. Be quiet. Give us crap on Sunday. Come on. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Have a good one. Have a good week if I don't see you then. And Mr. BM Boldt, thanks for doing this show. Another Frank Zappa show in the can. So, yeah, I love this record. God, I love both of these records. All right, everybody, have a good week. We'll see you, and keep it clean.